When a government deports a 4-year-old American child fighting stage 4 cancer and can't produce a single shred of evidence to justify it, you realize the failure isn't bureaucratic. It's moral. That's exactly what Congressman Seth Magaziner exposed when he calmly, methodically took apart one of the most powerful officials in Washington. What unfolded wasn't political theater. It was a moral confrontation that forced everyone watching to ask, how does something this cruel even happen in the United States? He began with a question that landed like a thunderclap. What evidence did the department have that this mother consented to her sick child's deportation? Silence. The official's polished tone cracked almost instantly. We followed the same procedures, she stammered.
Consent to her U.S. citizen children being removed. What evidence do you have to support your claim that she did consent?
Congressman, we followed the same policies and procedures
What evidence do you have?
And we
what
have
evidence do you have?
We have
that
documentation
she? What documentation do you have that mother consented?
We will get that to you, sir. I don't have it with me.
Please do. I understand it's hard to keep them all straight because you've deported multiple U.S. citizen children, but I'm asking specifically about the 4-year-old with cancer who was deported on April 25th. For the record, that family was also not given access to legal counsel before they were deported, even though their lawyer was in the same building at the time. I'm holding in my hands here a document called ICE Directive 11064, Interests of Non-Citizen Parents and Legal Guardians of Minor Children. This is the policy for how ICE agents should handle situations like this. It states unequivocally that parents and legal guardians should have the ability to make alternative care arrangements for minor children prior to their arrest or detention, and that ICE must afford parents the opportunity to consult with legal counsel. So, did the ICE agents working on this case who deported this 4-year-old with cancer of their own volition fail to follow ICE policies, or were they directed to by your office or anyone else in DHS leadership?
Sir, this mother chose to keep her child with her.
You have not produced any evidence to say so, but I'm asking again, have you directed DHS officers to ignore this
It's
policy?
very different than the previous administration. The previous administration
on March 15th, reclaiming my time, on March 15th, your department sent 3 airplanes to El Salvador. Those planes carried approximately 261 individuals who were imprisoned upon arrival. Did you personally review and approve the names of those 261 individuals before they were sent?
Sir, we have deported and sent home
did you review the names of those individuals?
And we have individuals that have the
Why won't you answer the question?
within the Department of
Are you
Homeland
aware
Security.
of whether those 261 individuals were given the opportunity to speak with a lawyer or appear before a judge before they were put on those planes? Yes or no?
Sir, every single individual followed the exact same process.
They were not all given the opportunity to appear before a judge or speak with a lawyer. On April 7th, the Supreme Court ruled that detainees must have an opportunity to have a hearing before they are deported. Are you familiar with the April 7th Supreme Court ruling?
I am.
Can you assure us that in the future you will abide by that Supreme Court ruling to provide detainees with a hearing before they are deported?
Following all judges' orders, yes, sir.
I have a photograph here of Andre Romero, a gay makeup artist from Venezuela. He fled Venezuela fearing gang violence because of his opposition to the Maduro dictatorship and his sexual orientation. He presented himself at a port of entry and requested asylum. His claim was found to be credible, and he was placed in detention to await a full hearing. But he never received a full hearing because you put him on one of those planes to El Salvador, where he still is today. Listen to me. He had no criminal record in the United States or in any other country. He did not even enter the country illegally. He presented at a port of entry. He tried to do it the legal way, and to this date, the only evidence your department has presented to justify his imprisonment is that he had 2 tattoos, one that said mom and one that said dad. Do you have any other evidence to present for why this individual should be locked up in El Salvador?
Sir, every case is used the same protocols and the same processes and inputs.
Do you have any evidence other than the tattoos that say mom or dad for why this individual should be locked up?
It's not just on tattoos. It's who they're affiliated with, their communication.
You have not presented any other evidence, nor has your department. Reclaiming my time, during your confirmation hearing, you said your focus would be on deporting immigrants who have been convicted of crimes and those who have received removal orders. But that is not what you have been doing. Instead, you have been deporting children children with cancer, children who are U.S. citizens, a gay makeup artist who committed no crime and didn't even enter the country illegally. You have been sloppy. Your department has been sloppy, and instead of focusing on real criminals, you have allowed innocent children to be deported while you fly around the country playing dress up for the cameras. Instead of enforcing the laws, you have repeatedly broken them. You need to change course immediately before more innocent people are hurt on your watch.
Gentleman's time has expired. I now recognize...
But Magaziner didn't let it slide. What evidence do you have? He pressed again, voice steady, eyes locked forward. No evasions, no spin, just a demand for proof. And when she admitted she had none, the temperature in that room shifted. For the first time, the mask of professionalism slipped, and everyone could see the hollowness underneath. He wasn't just asking about a single mistake. He was questioning the very soul of an agency that had treated a dying child as a logistical inconvenience. The woman and her children, two of them American citizens, were forced onto a plane before their attorney could even reach them. The lawyer was in the same building, pleading for access, and still ignored. Imagine that moment. A 4-year-old, hooked to medical equipment, separated from the care he needed, while the government responsible couldn't even produce paperwork to justify it. And the person in charge sat before Congress, empty-handed. Magaziner didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. His calmness made the silence that followed even heavier. Then he did something rare in Washington. He brought the receipts. Holding up the official IC directive, the one that spells out exactly how these cases are supposed to be handled, he read aloud the words that should have protected that child. Parents must be given a chance to arrange care for their children and consult with legal counsel. Simple. Clear, non-negotiable. Yet here they were, with no evidence it had ever happened. That moment hit differently because it wasn't abstract policy, it was human reality. The rules meant to shield families were ignored, overridden, or simply forgotten. And when Magaziner asked whether this was the failure of rogue agents or the result of direction from leadership, the answer was more silence. Because once you strip away the excuses, what's left is a pattern, not an accident. He pivoted to another case, and the air grew colder. On March 15th, 3 government planes left for El Salvador carrying 261 people. Many were imprisoned upon arrival. Magaziner asked a question any leader should have been ready to answer. Did you personally review those names before authorizing the flights? Again, no answer. She dodged, deflected, repeated talking points. But Magaziner kept cutting through the fog. Were those people given access to lawyers or judges? Were the new Supreme Court rules requiring hearings followed? The official said yes, but court records and testimonies say otherwise. The calm persistence in his tone made each question sharper, more surgical. He wasn't trying to score a headline. He was documenting a pattern of negligence so deep it bordered on willful disregard for the law. He reminded her, and the nation, that just weeks earlier, the Supreme Court reaffirmed every detainee's right to a hearing before deportation. But instead of compliance, the department continued to run flights filled with people who had never stood before a judge. Then came the story that silenced even the background murmurs in the room. A Venezuelan asylum seeker named Andre Romero, a gay makeup artist who fled gang violence and political persecution. He tried to enter the United States the legal way. He went to a port of entry, requested asylum, and passed the initial screening. His claim was deemed credible. He had no criminal record, no history of violence, nothing but a dream to live safely. But he never got his full hearing. He was deported anyway, to El Salvador, a place he'd never even lived in, because agents decided his 2 tattoos, one reading Mom and one Dad, were suspicious. That was the evidence. 2 tattoos of family words. Magaziner stared across the table, holding up the photo of Andre. Do you have any other evidence, he asked quietly, for why this man was deported? She muttered something about communication patterns. But everyone knew the truth. There was no evidence. None. It's moments like this that cut through the noise of politics. Because it stops being about left or right. It becomes about right or wrong. A man who followed every rule, deported because of ink on his skin. A child dying of cancer, stripped from the country that promised to protect her. Families torn apart under the authority of people who couldn't even produce a single document to defend their actions. Magaziner laid out the contrast for the world to see. A system that promises justice yet operates without accountability. He reminded everyone listening that these policies don't exist in a vacuum. They live, or die, in the lives of real people. Every ignored rule has a face, a name, and a story. Every broken procedure leaves scars that no apology can heal. As the hearing went on, you could feel the unease growing behind the official's carefully rehearsed answers. Each time she reached for a justification, Magaziner countered with evidence, policy, or precedent. Each time she claimed, "We followed the process," he produced proof that they hadn't. It wasn't shouting that made it powerful, it was precision. The quiet certainty of a man who knew the facts and refused to let them be buried under bureaucratic doublespeak. Then came his closing words, and they landed like a verdict. "You have been deporting children with cancer, children who are U.S. citizens, a gay makeup artist who committed no crime. You have been sloppy. And instead of focusing on real criminals, you've allowed innocent people to be deported while you fly around playing dress-up for the cameras. Instead of enforcing the law, you've broken it." The chamber went still. The mask of authority shattered. What made that moment unforgettable wasn't rage, it was clarity. For once, there was no place to hide behind procedure, no technicalities to twist. Just the raw, uncomfortable truth that a government meant to protect had instead inflicted harm. And Magaziner's calm delivery made it impossible to dismiss as grandstanding. But the deeper message went beyond the outrage of one hearing. It asked a question that lingers long after the cameras shut off. What does it mean for a democracy when compassion is treated like weakness and cruelty becomes normalized? When leaders sworn to uphold the Constitution can't even follow a court ruling from a month earlier? When accountability becomes optional? This wasn't about immigration policy. It was about the rule of law itself. Because if the government can ignore its own directives, deny access to lawyers, and deport citizens and asylum seekers without hearings, then the line between order and abuse disappears. That's why Magaziner's tone mattered, measured, relentless, and factual. He didn't need outrage to make his point. The facts were devastating enough. He reminded everyone watching that the oath these officials take to uphold the Constitution is not ceremonial. It's a promise that laws will apply equally, that due process will protect the innocent, that the government's power will have limits. Every time that promise is broken, something fundamental erodes, and that's the real story buried under all the policy jargon. A nation is judged not by how it treats its powerful, but by how it treats its weakest. A 4-year-old child battling cancer should never become collateral damage in the name of efficiency. An asylum seeker following the law should never be punished for doing things the right way. When those lines are crossed, it's not a mistake. It's a reflection of who we've become. By the end of the hearing, Magaziner had done what so few manage in Washington. He exposed the truth without shouting, without spectacle, just unwavering moral focus. Every question he asked built a wall of evidence so solid that denial became impossible. He forced the department to confront its own contradictions, one unanswered question at a time. And maybe that's why this exchange hit so many people so hard. Because it reminded the public that justice doesn't always wear a robe or carry a gavel. Sometimes it's a quiet voice in a congressional room asking, "Where is the evidence?" Sometimes it's the refusal to let silence pass for an answer. Long after the clip ended, the echo of that moment lingered. Viewers online called it one of the most powerful hearings of the year, not because of fireworks, but because it revealed the human cost behind statistics and policy charts. It forced everyone watching to imagine that child, that mother, that asylum seeker, and ask, if the system can fail them so completely, who's safe from it failing us? Magaziner's confrontation didn't just expose incompetence. It exposed the moral rot that seeps in when power operates without empathy. It was a reminder that the Constitution is only as strong as the people willing to defend it, and that sometimes the most patriotic act isn't waving a flag, but holding the powerful to their own promises. That's why this moment resonated far beyond the walls of Congress. Because it wasn't just about deportations or procedures or policies. It was about something deeper, the idea that every human being, no matter how powerless, deserves to be treated with dignity and fairness. And as the hearing ended, one thing became crystal clear. When truth is laid bare so simply, it can't be ignored. The calm questioning of one congressman became a mirror held up to an entire system. And the reflection wasn't pretty. But that's exactly why it mattered. Because now, the country can't pretend it didn't see that if you believe stories like this need to be told, if you think accountability shouldn't depend on who's in power, then make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. Every week, we're breaking down the moments that expose what's really happening behind the polished statements and press releases. Hit like, share this story, and stay tuned. Because the fight for truth and justice isn't over. It's just beginning.